Hi, I'm Jesse at Strobepro.com, and today I'm going to be showing you the Strobepro Rapid V-Flat. Until now, the best way to use a V-Flat was to make it out of foam core. That involved you going to a local store, if you could track it down, having it cut, taping it up, and then transporting it back home. The other option would be to purchase online, where you could get something like this, which would be the most portable option. But as you can see, this isn't exactly small and it's easily damaged. This one's brand new, arrived with the corners just destroyed, so you can imagine what it's going to look like after you use it a few times. Plus, the foam core options are just really limited to either using the white or black in the traditional V-flat shape. With the Strobepro Rapid V-Flat, we've taken that to a whole nother level. You have the option to use it as a traditional V-flat with the white or the black. Plus we can separate these panels, so use them individually, or purchase optional diffusion and use them as a soft diffuse light source. So let's take a closer look what the Strobepro Rapid V-Flat is all about. Every Strobepro Rapid V-Flat is going to include the carrying case. It's a nice carrying case, has a reinforced bottom so it's not going to flex or bend, and everything packs in here for a full V-Flat, so the two sides of it. So zippered opening there. Inside you're going to find your material. So this is the white-black reversible material. If you pick up the optional diffusion, you'll have another bag which is contained in there. Here we have our feet, and we're going to have 4 of these. Now, you do not have to use these feet. We'll show you both ways to install those, but you'll have 4 of them, as you can see here. And then essentially, in the rest of the carrying case here, we have all of our tubes that are going to make up the frames. And we have a nice Velcro tie down here, so these are not going to rattle around. And I've taken off most of the plastic here. I like to keep one section of the plastic just to kind of separate, so I know, okay, here's one side of the frame and then the other side is down below. And then in here we just have a couple of brackets which are actually going to connect those 2 pieces of the frame together. So that's everything you're going to get in the actual carrying case. Let's undo this, take these pieces out, and assemble the frame now. There's 2 ways you can assemble the side of the frame. Either you can lay it on the floor if you've got a bunch of open space, which is probably the easiest way, but I'm just going to show you a little bit of a close-up of the feet attaching to it. So let's grab one of our bottom pieces, and we realize that's a bottom because of the sticker there. It has the extra holes. Let's take one section here, flat section, slide that in, and again, the pins will connect through. You'll hear them click. Now let's just grab our other side here. And it's definitely easier if you do this on the floor because otherwise these pieces are going to be kind of flopping all over. But basically we have the bottom assembled there. So I'm going to take one of these feet here and just back off this screw. And essentially all I need to do is pop off the top half here. And that piece just allows it to wrap underneath and over top of the actual tube. So line that bolt up with the bottom hole here. That's going to slide through. We take this other piece, and it only goes one way. You'll see it wrap around there. And I'm just holding the bottom bolt here so it doesn't spin, and then just reassembling this big thumb screw on the top. I'm not going to over tighten that now because I need to get my other one on. So same thing, take that off, and we will just put this bolt through here again. One of the nice things about the feet is they're actually really strong. They're not going to bend or anything, and they have rubber on them, so that's not going to scratch hardwood or any kind of specialty flooring that you might be using. And you can see here I'm not quite aligned, so I just need to rotate that bottom so it drops in. That gives me my extra thread there, and again I'm just holding that bolt on the bottom. And you don't have to over tighten these right now, but ideally what you want is these to go horizontal with the frame here because you don't want them to be pushing out the fabric once we install that. So you can see how easy and quick that was. Basically we have the whole bottom of the frame assembled already. We just need to connect the top pieces, and we'll do that on the floor here right now. We have 2 curved pieces and 3 straight pieces left. And I'm just going to install these two verticals so I can free up some hands here. So again, really easy, just drop it in. And the nice thing is if you're not fully aligned, you can still just drop it in and then twist it and you can hear it lock in there. Same thing over here. So you don't have to worry too much about your alignment, just give it a turn. And I'm going to assemble this top section and then drop it onto what I just built there. Connected. And now one side on. And for this, just get both sides on before you try to force it down or anything, because it needs to go on somewhat flush here, just so that's vertical. Push the pins in there. Push the pins in on this side, go down, and go down. And now, if you need to give it a little bit of a twist to lock the pins in, like I just did there, you can do that. Now you can see we're just barely in frame here, or maybe not even in frame actually. We have a ton of height available to us, especially with these feet on, which adds an extra 2 inches. So if you don't need that extra height, you can leave those feet off. But you can see here, we have our frame fully standing. You can actually put this on another C-stand or something if you wanted to go even higher. But we've designed this to give you plenty of height. And all we need to do now is assemble the other frame and connect them together. Now we've assembled both of the panels, 1 and 2 here. We have them freestanding on the feet, and we've also readjusted our shot back in the warehouse here, just so you can see the full height of them for a couple minutes here. We wanted you to get that experience. You can see they're 8 feet tall here. They'll still fit in a standard basement. We can also save some a little bit of space by just taking off the feet if we want to use it in the traditional V-flat. But right away you can see we have 2 freestanding panels, which is very unique. You cannot do that with a traditional V-flat. But we need to put the material on right now. So in my pouch here, I have both reversible materials. So this is one and then the other one's still in here. Let's assemble those right now. We have our frame, we have our material, let's attach that now. Now before I do, I just want to point out that these corners are reversible. So you see we have the black band that goes on the white there, or we can flip it around and it goes on the black. We want this band to be on the black side. You're gonna see this little elastic, that's just to attach the corners, which I'll show you in a second. So just go around and make sure that the elastic is on the black part of the fabric. So I'm gonna do this the most awkward way possible. I highly suggest you just lay this down on your floor, but because we're in the warehouse, I don't wanna get this thing filthy. It's really easy if you just lay it down. I'm going to attempt to do it kind of standing up here without getting my material really dirty. So I'm going to flip this around. It's obviously just a big rectangle, so find the short sides here and just put those 2 elastics around, and I'm just going to kind of hold the tension and put that back up vertically. So let's actually spin that around like this. So you can see why we put the black on there. It's because we want the black frame to be on the black side rather than on the white, which would make it a lot more noticeable. So I'm just pulling the tension down here, put it on the corner, and then the same thing on the other side. And you can see now we have the fabric on, really easy, just a couple of seconds to do that. We have some Velcro attachment points. So you're gonna loosen that Velcro off, wrap it around the frame, and just reattach it. That's just going to hold some of the tension and get rid of that waving fabric there. So 4 attachment points, really easily. We have assembled this black fabric, and the reversible obviously on the other side is the white. Now you can see up in the top corners we have some holes. Maybe you can't see it that well, we'll zoom in to show you. But in these corners, we have those elastic pieces. And what these are designed to do is to wrap that kind of corner piece of fabric around just to fill in the frame and to fill in any gaps. Now these are adjustable. Basically what you do is you take the loop and you take the ball and it just inserts in there to hold tension. Now these are designed a little bit big on purpose. And what I like to do is take the elastic or this other side, it doesn't really matter, and just tie a loop in that just to make some more tension. So I'm just wrapping that around, tying that. You can also accomplish the same thing just by twisting it around, but that gives me a little bit more tension. Then I can just grab the fabric and do that around the corner. So same thing on the other side. If I do that, I'll just flip the whole frame around to show you this side. Again, I'm just going to attempt to tie a little loop there. That gives me basically the amount of tension I want. Loop the ball around and then just grab the fabric and turn it in. So I would do that the same on the bottom here, but you can see that's filled in the holes on the top, and actually on the white side, you'll notice it even more. On the top, it's wrapped the top of the frame completely around there. So I'm going to attach the bottom points and then we'll be ready to go. I've assembled both panels now. We have our black facing out here and the white facing out here. One of the differences you can see is obviously on the black, we've anodized these tubes so that the tubes can be right against the black. You're not going to get reflections off of them. Whereas the white, the black frame is covered here, so it goes over top. So when we were reversing those elastics, that's why we did that, to keep the white fully white on this side. And again, it's really easy to flip these around. There's nothing I have to do other than spin it around. But you can see this is kind of a unique combination here. If I wanted to do a bounce on this side with the white and a negative fill on the other side, it's really easy. With these freestanding, we can move them in wherever we want, adjust them behind, or you could even use them as a backdrop. Now, this V-Flat was not designed as a backdrop, but you certainly can use it for headshots, or you could combine them beside each other for a wider shot. But I haven't done anything to this fabric. I could have gone and ironed it out so there's no wrinkles at all, but you will have some wrinkles when you take this out of the package. On a V-Flat, it really doesn't matter. It affects the performance not at all, so you don't have to worry about that. But if you are going to use it as a backdrop, and it's a really big concern, you can iron these panels on low heat. So just be careful. You don't want to melt through them or burn them or anything like that. I just wanted to quickly mention that that is another option that you can do. So let's actually put these in V-Flat configuration. So with the feet assembled, I could actually just go, let's put the white out. So we have our two whites facing out. I could actually just bring them in close if I wanted to. Say I wanted this one like that, bring them in nice and tight, V-Flat them that way. Now, if you want to use it in the actual configuration, what we have is those two clips that we looked at earlier. And what these do is just back up. And so we take this thumb screw off of here, and there's just two sides to this clamp. So what I would do, let's just separate this a little bit here, is I would go kind of 3/4 of the way up and put this piece in here. And then I go and put the other half on. It just slides on, and just put our thumb screw just loosely right now because we want to be able to fit the other piece of the frame in there. So if I bring that over, just loosen that off, just enough for it to pop in. Now I'm just going to lightly tighten that down, and you can see I've made a mistake here. Generally, you're not going to want to have this thumb screw sticking out. You can, it's not a big deal, but normally I would put that on the back. So I'm going to switch that to the back, and then we'll add the bottom one about 3/4 of the way on the bottom, and then we'll have these attached. I've attached both brackets, and now these pieces are joined together. You can see I still have the feet attached, and that gives us a unique opportunity to use this V-Flat. With a traditional V-Flat, there's no way that you could have this going vertical, or flat I should say, right across. But here we're able to extend this out if I wanted to have a big bounce source. Now, you might say, oh, but there's a gap in the middle. Yeah, with the V-flat, it usually doesn't matter. If it's really sensitive to what you're shooting, you can just run a piece of gaff tape right down the middle to close in that seam. But the whole point of a V-flat is to bounce light, reflect light, use negative fill, or if you're using our diffusion panels, to diffuse the light as well. That's just a unique way, and with those attached, we can tilt this however we want, close it in, but now we start to see some of the limitations on using the feet. The feet kind of tend to aim at each other, so we can, if they're not too tight, we can move those out of the way just by kind of bending them. That'll allow us to close that in, or you can take the feet off like we mentioned before and just use it right on the ground. That also saves you a couple inches in height if that's something that you need to do. I've taken the feet off the V-flat so it's resting right on the ground. It's really easy to configure this. I've got the black side out right now, but we can just grab this, flip it around quickly and easily, and now I have the white. And the great thing is I can just manipulate that exactly how I want the bounce to bounce on me. Obviously I wouldn't use it like this, but just showing you how quick and easy it is. That's why you don't want to tighten the clamps all the way down, because if you really tighten them down, it's going to want to stay in that configuration. So I just keep them kind of hand tight, and then I can manipulate this wherever I want quickly and easily without going and adjusting the knobs on the back. I've created a little V-flat code for myself here to demonstrate the Strobepro V-flat here versus a V-flat that will remain nameless, which is the next most portable option. Right away, what you can see is the extra height that the Strobepro V-flat has. With the feet on, it's right about 8 feet, but with them off, it's just under 8 feet. And that's really nice because you can fit it in an 8-foot ceiling, where this one is just 80 inches. So that comes into a bit of play when you're trying to block light. So if we had a light coming overhead, it's going to come right over and hit me right in the side of the face here if we were lighting from that side. Whereas the Strobepro one is really nice because it's going to block that light out. So same thing if you're trying to reflect the light, you get full body reflection all the way from head to toe. Whereas this, you can get a little bit of clipping on the top. The next biggest thing, and probably the most important, is the durability. So the Strobepro one can take some abuse. You saw it's fully metal on the frame. This fabric, you can't dent it. The only thing you could do possibly is rip it, but you'd really have to struggle to do that. Whereas this foam core, this is brand new out of the box. When I opened this out of the box, all of these corners were like bent in. I have dents all over it. It looked like it had been used for 6 months, but it was brand new. And that's just the nature of foam core. It's not a knock against the manufacturer of those. It's just you can't avoid it. It's really soft. If I put my finger into it, it's going to dent. And when you start transporting that around, or even just using it in the studio every day, it gets chewed up, the edges get destroyed, and you're going to be replacing this probably every year to 2 years, where the Strobepro one is going to last you 5, 10, however many years, as long as you take proper care of it. The other issue is going to be price. Whether you can believe it or not, this cost me $350 Canadian to have delivered here, whereas the Strobepro one, you're going to be under $300 shipped. And for our US friends, you have the exchange rate benefit on your side as well, so it's a lot more affordable. So those are just a couple of the differences. I should mention again about the characteristic of the light as well. We've tested these against each other just because they're the closest competitors. The reflection coming from the Strobepro versus coming from this V-flat here is nearly identical. So even though this looks a little bit more matte, which it technically is, the reflection characteristics are not going to change in the Strobepro. And especially on the black that comes into play, because it looks maybe like the black on here would be more reflective when we flip it around, but we've actually metered that and tested it, and we'll have a separate video showing you that. But the actual fabric on the Strobepro V-flat is less reflective than this. So that's really nice. You're going to be able to use this the same as you would if you've been used to using a traditional V-flat or just foam core in general, the characteristics are going to be nearly identical on it. This is as small as you can get a V-flat in a foam core configuration, and you can see here that, you know, they might be almost the same width, but we definitely have a lot of room over here. So this is really not convenient traveling around. Again, you chuck this in your car and throw a bunch of bags, it's going to be dented and destroyed in no time. And that's really where the Strobepro V-Flat comes into its own, is just its portability, accessibility. You can take this with you anywhere and just really enjoy it in a number of different configurations that we've talked about. Even though this is portable, if you're using it in your studio, you're probably not going to want to break it down every time. So this is really easy to fold flat and tuck against a wall. So I can just fold it in like that really easily, just like a traditional V-flat. Now I can put that against a wall or tuck it in the corner and it's out of the way. It's really easy to take off the fabric from the V-flat frame. All you want to do is take off the Velcro first on both sides. So just go and stick that back to itself. So once you have the 4 Velcros off, you can just go over here, pop the top, lift the frame up off the bottom, and we have our fabric off. We can fold this up and put it back in the pouch. Another option that we have with the V-Flat is to convert one of our panels to a diffusion panel. And this diffusion material is purchased separately, but you can purchase it for each individual panel. So I have one piece for one side of the frame. You can get 2, or if you've got multiple sets, however you want. Now, this material is very similar to install like we did the white-black reversible. The only difference being that it does not have the loops up in the corners. But essentially it's the exact same thing. You're just going to put these elastics over the corners and then we're going to attach the Velcro. So I'll do that now and we'll get that assembled. So I've installed the diffusion material on here. It's really easy to do, like I said, same way as before. Now I want to show you a number of different ways to use not only the diffusion, but also the black and the white fabrics. Have you ever found yourself in this situation in the studio where you have an extra light that you're trying to light your subject, but you don't have an extra modifier or softbox, and you're getting this harsh, ugly light kind of burning out your subject? Well, with the Strobepro Rapid V-Flat, we have a quick and easy fix if you've purchased the optional diffusion material. I'm going to have Kevin bring in the panel here and just stick it right in front of this light. So it's super fast, easy to diffuse that light right down. He'll pop that in place and you can see right away what an effect that made on my face here. All of a sudden that harsh, ugly light is gone and we've softened it right down. From there you can kind of control the power of it. We'll have Kevin bring up the power a little bit if we need a little bit more power. And you can see you can manipulate it back and forth from there to find your correct exposure. I've removed the diffusion material and I've repositioned this light. Now you can see that this light is coming across. It's not hitting me in the face anymore, but I'm a little bit underexposed. So I'm going to get Kevin to bring in the white side panel here. And this is going to demonstrate what the white fabric can do in a bounce position. So as he brings that in, you can see the exposure on me comes up and we've done nothing else other than just bring in that white fabric. And so now the light is coming across, hitting here, coming back, and it's increased the exposure and it looks a lot better now. Let's take a look at how we use negative fill. I've left the white panel in place and that is bouncing and reflecting. It's increasing the exposure here. We need to use the black panel to bring down that exposure. So Kevin's going to bring the panel into place here and you can see that that exposure is going to start to come down. And with it fully in place, you can see the dramatic difference. Now we can vary that exposure as well, depending on how much we slide that off of the wall or the other panel. You can see going back and then closing it back down with that negative fill. So there's just a couple of ways that you can adjust. Say you have a wall that's bouncing and it's increasing the exposure too much, or you need to block out a window in your studio. Negative fill is a great way to do that. And with the Strobepro V-Flat panel in the negative fill configuration, it's really easy to bring in and out of frame. So there you have it. That's everything you need to know about the Strobepro Rapid V-Flat. I can use it in a traditional configuration like this with all black, or just flip it around and I can use the white side as well. One of the best things about the Strobepro Rapid V-Flat though is the ability to separate the panels. I can have them freestand with the included feet, move them anywhere I want around the studio, have one black, one white, flip them around, or purchase the optional diffusion and have a complete system. The other great thing about these is they're small, portable, and we can take them anywhere without damaging them. So check out all the options, whether you pick up one kit here or pick up another, build yourself a V-Flat Cove. The options are limitless, and I think you're going to really enjoy the brand new Strobepro Rapid V-Flat. Until next time, I'm Jesse at Strobepro, and enjoy creating.